This is Fitness Blender's weight training for fat loss. For this workout, we're going to be doing 8 different exercises, 3 rounds through. You're going to need dumbbells, so make sure you have a pretty decent variety. Also, we're not doing a warm-up on this routine, so make sure you do 10 to 15 minutes of a warm-up before you get started. Let's go ahead and get started with round number 1. Our first exercise is going to be just a traditional push-up. You can either do this off of your knees or off of your toes. We're doing 14 repetitions total. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Nice and slow, lower yourself down to the ground, keep a little bit of gap underneath that chest. Make sure you're keeping that back really nice and flat, straight line from your shoulder all the way down to that knee, or if you're doing a full push-up, from your shoulder all the way down to that ankle and that toe. Make sure you're nice, slow, controlled motion. Don't lock those elbows out completely at the top. Try to get down as low to the ground as you possibly can without touching. And just one more repetition, and let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, the deadlift with a reverse fly. So go ahead and stand up and grab a pair of dumbbells for this one. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Bend straight over at your hips, keeping your back nice and flat. Drop down until your chest is parallel to the ground. Pause it there. And then pull those arms straight up out to the side, shoulder height or higher if you can. Nice and slow, let them drop right back down, and then stand back up to a full extension. Now to make this exercise just a little bit harder, make sure as you bring those arms up out to your sides, those hands are up above about ear level or a little bit above about top of your head. The higher you go out in front of your body, the harder it's going to be to actually do this motion. The lower you bring them back towards those hips, the easier it's going to be. And we've got just one more full repetition. Back nice and flat, slowly come back up, and let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, the single arm pullovers with a leg raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin, starting with that left hand and that right foot. Nice and slow, crunch up, bring that leg straight up above that hip and pause it so it's directly above that hip joint. Bring that arm straight above that shoulder joint and then crunch the rest of the way up like you're trying to get that hand all the way up to that toe. And we've got just one more, then we're going to switch sides. And go ahead and let it relax, switch it off to the other hand, do the same thing on the other side. So this time with that right hand and that left leg, nice and slow bringing it up. Again, stop directly above that hip joint with that leg, directly above that shoulder joint with that dumbbell, and then nice and slow, crunch it the rest of the way up from there, leaning forward, rolling those shoulders off the ground. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, the squats with a ventral raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Squatting down nice and low, keeping that weight back in those heels, back nice and flat, and then raise those arms directly up in front of your body so those arms stop just at shoulder height. You want to bring that hand directly up to that shoulder height. Make sure that elbow stays relatively straight. You don't want them completely locked out, but you want them pretty nice and solid. Don't let that elbow bend a whole lot. As you get tired, those elbows are going to want to bend a lot. Those arms are going to want to come in a lot closer to your body. It makes it a lot easier for those shoulders. So try to keep those arms at a full extension. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's go and move on to the next one, the lunge with a row kickback. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now, there are 3 separate motions with this one. The first one's a lunge, just stepping forward with one foot, getting down nice and low. That rear leg's going to stay nice and straight. Lean forward with that chest. And then you're going to start into that row motion, that second motion. You're going to pull those arms straight up towards you, pulling those elbows back behind your rib cage as far as you possibly can until those upper arm is parallel to the ground. Then nice and slow, that third motion, that tricep kickback. So those dumbbells are going to kick straight back behind you, then slowly back down to a nice relaxed neutral position before you drop those arms back down from that row. Then stand back up from that lunge, then slowly drop right back into that lunge again, but this time with that opposite leg forward. Start the arm motion over again. That nice slow row, and then that tricep kickback, slowly back down again, coming back up from that lunge. And there's your last repetition right here. Slowly standing back up. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and do the squat, cross, and press next. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Go ahead and drop down into a nice low squat, reaching across your body down to the outside of that opposite foot as the hand you're holding that dumbbell with. Then nice and slow, stand right back up. With that same hand, you're going to press directly above your shoulder to a shoulder press. Then drop back down into that squat again, this time doing it with the opposite arm. So that opposite arm is going to go down across the outside of that opposite foot. Then you're going to come back up, do a shoulder press, then start the whole thing over again with that original arm. And we've got just one more on the other side. And go ahead and let it relax. All right, let's move to the next one, the lunges with a rotation. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. All right, go ahead and drop down into that nice low lunge. Make sure your weight is evenly dispersed between your feet. Your body's going to want to actually lean forward onto that front leg more, put more weight on that front leg. So try to counteract that by leaning more weight onto that rear leg to try to make sure you're even from front to back. Now, once you've got that lunge down there nice and low, you're going to rotate left to right with that dumbbell. Get as far to the left with those shoulders and as far to the right with those shoulders as you can, but don't let that dumbbell come from in front of your chest or in front of your stomach. All that rotation is just from your shoulders around that torso, not from your shoulder socket itself. Nice and slow, stand back up. Drop right back down into that lunge with that opposite leg and start that rotation again. And we got just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one. The crunches with a cross punch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Nice and slow, bring those legs straight up above those hips. You want to keep that ankle directly above that hip joint. Try not to let those legs come in over top of that stomach. You want to keep them out away from you just a little bit. Then nice and slow with those dumbbells, cross one across in front of your body, crunching up towards those toes as high as you can. Try to get those shoulder blades all the way up off the ground. Then nice and slow, drop it back down and do the same thing with the opposite arm. Just rotating those shoulders and crunching up as high as you can towards those feet every single time, making sure those legs don't come in over top of your stomach. You want to keep them out over top of those hips or actually leaning away from you just slightly. And just one more on the other side. And let it relax. All right, good job. You just finished round number 1. We're going to go ahead and start up round number 2 here in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and start up round number 2, starting off with those push-ups. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now remember, you want to keep a nice straight line from that shoulder all the way down to that knee, from that shoulder all the way down to that ankle if you're doing a full push-up. Just drop as low as you can. Nice fluid, even motion. Make sure you're not moving too quickly. The slower you go, the harder it's going to be. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one. The deadlift with the reverse fly. Go ahead and grab those dumbbells. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. With a nice flat back, lean straight forward from those hips. Get that chest parallel to the ground, and then nice and slow, pull those arms up and out to the side as high as you possibly can. Remember, if you want it to be a little bit harder, bring those hands further forward over top of your head as opposed to down back towards those hips. And we're almost done. This is your last repetition right here. And let it relax. All right, go ahead and lay down flat on your back for this next one. The single arm pullovers with a leg raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Starting with that left hand and that right leg. Bring that right leg straight up over top of that hip. That left hand comes straight up over top of that shoulder. Then crunch forward, bring that dumbbell straight up towards that foot as tight as you possibly can, rolling those shoulders just a little bit, trying to get both shoulder blades up off the ground as much as you possibly can. Just keep that lower back flat against that mat as much as possible. Nice, slow, controlled motions, squeezing it up every single time, slowly back down to the ground every time. And we got one more on this side. Then we're going to switch sides. And go ahead and let it relax. Cross that dumbbell over to the other hand. Do the same exact thing on that opposite side. So that right hand's going to come up, that left leg's going to come up. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's move to the next one, the squats with a ventral raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Squat down nice and low, weight back in your heels. Bring those dumbbells straight up to shoulder height. You want those arms parallel to the ground. Then nice and slow, drop those hands back down as you come back up from that squat. Just keep that range of motion going as much as you possibly can. Try to get as deep of a squat every single time as possible. Getting those arms straight up in front of that chest every single time. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's move to the next one, a lunge with a row kickback. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Lunging forward with one leg, tipping forward from those hips, rowing those dumbbells straight up towards those shoulders, kicking those elbows back behind that rib cage as far as they'll go. Then nice and slow, doing that tricep kickback, extending those arms straight back behind you, keeping that upper arm parallel to the ground. Then slowly let everything relax back down, standing back up from that lunge. Then nice and slow, right back onto that lunge with that opposite leg forward. And there's our last repetition. Draw those elbows up, kick those arms back. Nice and slow, drop them, stand back up from that lunge, and let it relax. Let's go ahead and move to the next one, the squat, cross, and press. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Nice and slow, squat down, crossing with one arm to the outside of that opposite foot from hand, pressing that same hand directly up above that shoulder once you come back up from that squat. And then drop right back down into that squat. This time with that opposite hand, you're going to reach to the other foot. Slowly come back up again, pressing that hand over top of your shoulder. Then start that motion all over again with that original arm. And we've got just one more on the other side. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one, the lunge with a rotation. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Nice and slow, step out into that lunge. Make sure your weight is evenly dispersed between your feet. Then rotate those shoulders to the left and the right as far as you possibly can, keeping that dumbbell directly in front of that chest. Make sure all that rotation is just coming from that torso and not coming from that shoulder socket. And we've got just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's move to the next one, the crunches with a cross punch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Those legs come directly above those hips. Nice and slow. Bring that dumbbell straight up across to those feet. Trying to crunch across diagonally. Pulling those shoulders up off the ground as high as you possibly can. Then nice and slow, drop it back down. Coming back up with that opposite hand. And just one more repetition on the other side. And let it relax. All right, good job. That's the end of round number 2. Go ahead and pause it here. Otherwise, we're going to start into round number 3 in just a second. All right, this is your last round. Let's go ahead and start it back up with those push-ups. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Keep a nice straight line to that back from that shoulder all the way down to that knee, or if you're doing that full version, from that shoulder all the way down to that ankle. Nice slow motion all the way down as low to the ground as you possibly can. So you're going to be feeling this mainly in that chest and the back of that arm, but you're also going to be feeling it in your abdominal muscles in the front of that hip. So one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, let's go to the next one, the deadlift with a reverse fly. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. With that back nice and flat, tip straight forward from those hips. Bring those arms up and out to the side. Get a nice tight squeeze as high as you possibly can. You're going to be feeling this through that upper back right across that shoulder blade and that lower back from tipping forward, as well as in those butt muscles and the back of that hamstring from tipping forward. So just make sure you're doing this motion nice and slow under control. Get a nice tight squeeze every single time you bring those arms up. Just have one more repetition. And go ahead and let it relax. All right, go ahead and lay down on your back for this next one. The single arm pull over with the leg raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Starting with that left hand and that right leg. Nice and slow, bring that leg right up above that hip. Bring that arm right up above that shoulder. Then you're nice and slow, crunch up as hard as you possibly can. Get that dumbbell all the way up to that ankle or as close to it as you can. Then nice and slow back down. You're going to feel this through the underside of your arm, the outside of your rib cage, your abdominal muscles, the front of that hip, the top of that thigh. You're going to feel it basically all through the front side of your body. Just have one more on this side. And go ahead and let it relax. We're going to do the same thing in the opposite arm. So using that right arm and that left leg this time, just nice and slow, bring that arm and leg up, crunching up towards that ankle as hard as you can, and then nice and slow back down. Just have one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, so move to the next one, the squat with a ventral raise. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Squat down nice and low. Bring those arms straight up in front of your chest. You're going to feel this to the top of that shoulder, a little bit through the front and back of your upper arm, but you're primarily going to be feeling it through your quadriceps, your glute muscles, those butt muscles, and a little bit into that lower back from trying to hold that support. And we got one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, so move to the next one, the lunge with a row and kick back. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Step out with one foot, going down into that lunge position, tip forward with that upper body, row those dumbbells up towards your chest, kick those arms back behind you for that tricep extension, and then nice and slow back down, back up from that lunge, then back down into that lunge with that opposite leg. So you're going to be feeling it obviously in those legs quite a bit from that lunge. So that front leg, you're going to feel it in your quadricep, the top of that thigh, also in your butt muscle. From that arm motion, you're going to be feeling it through your upper back, as well as the back of that arm as you extend those triceps back. So you're going to be feeling it through that shoulder, the upper part of that shoulder from that row, and the back of that arm from that tricep extension, as well as all through that leg from that lunge. And one more repetition. That nice slow row motion, squeezing those arms back behind you for that tricep extension. Then nice and slow back up from that lunge and let it relax. All right, let's move to the next one, the squat, cross, and press. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Squat down, bring one dumbbell across your body out to the outside of that opposite foot. Coming up, with that same hand, press it straight above your shoulder. Then squat back down again, using that opposite hand, do the same motion, just in the opposite direction. Now you're going to be feeling this quite a bit in the top of that shoulder from that shoulder press, as well as those glutes and those quadriceps, the top of that thigh from that squat. You're also going to be feeling it quite a bit in your obliques, your abdominal muscles, and your lower back, just from having to support this position, supporting this motion. And just one more on the other side. And let it relax. All right, our next one is the lunge with a rotation. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Lunge out, nice slow rotation. Make sure you're getting as low as you possibly can on that lunge, as low as is comfortable. Make sure your weight is evenly dispersed between those feet, and you're rotating those shoulders as much as you can from left to right. You're going to feel this quite a bit in those legs, to that quadricep, the top of that thigh, those butt muscles, as well as that calf. You're also going to be feeling it through that torso just a little bit from that rotation, and you're also going to be feeling it just a little bit in that bicep and that shoulder from holding that dumbbell. Just one more with the other leg. And let it relax. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one, the crunch with a cross punch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Get those legs straight up above those hips. Then nice and slow with one dumbbell, come up across in front of those legs. Get a nice tight crunch. Trying to get that dumbbell as close to those feet as you possibly can. Then nice and slow back down. Do the same thing with the other side. So you're going to be feeling this quite a bit through those abdominal muscles and those obliques, through the side of that waist. You're also going to be feeling it through that chest and that tricep from doing that press with that dumbbell. You're also going to be feeling it a little bit through the top of that quadricep and the front of that hip while you're holding those legs up. And just one more repetition. And let it relax. All right, good job. You just finished this weight training workout for weight loss.